Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final journal reading episode. In this episode, we're going to read the equipment and weapons. Last episode, we did the New World and Creatures, and the episode before that, we did the crew. We didn't do the diary because that's at the beginning of all the chapters that we've been playing through. So anyways, equipment. Gas mask. A gas mask was vital in Moscow. You couldn't even hope to go outside without one, and it often came in handy, even in the tunnels. Think of the mushroom fields, especially when the fresh fertilizer was being piled in. I'd hoped I'd be able to get rid of it on the surface, but it looks like that was just a pipe dream. There are lots of places here where this stuffy thing becomes a necessity. The charger. My tried and true manual crank charger made from a scooter alternator, a stabilizer, a transformer, a battery, and metal shears. How often did I have to listen to a whir waiting for the flashlight to come back to life? Frankly speaking, I'd love to cut down on the times. I have to keep squeezing it, but 20 years after the Judgment Day, decent rechargeable batteries are kind of hard to come by, so we all have to use the restored and re-restored ones, and these hold charge just a little better than a bottomless bucket holds water. Besides, this little charger can, in times of emergency, power things much larger than a flashlight or a night sight. Since it can generate some decent power, it usually takes quite a lot of cranking to do that, though. The notepad. This isn't just an old military-issue map case that holds maps, pencils, and notes. On the mission parameters anymore. The efforts of Tokarev, Sparta's tech guru, have brought up... The efforts of Tokarev, Sparta's tech guru, have brought it up to the Order standard and turned it into a marvel of technology, while remaining surprisingly light. It now includes a map with an automatic course plotter showing my current location, a radio for communicating with the HQ, a compass, and a notepad, which I am planning to use to record my profound thoughts, interesting observations, and other things noteworthy. Perhaps one day I might turn it all into a memoir. The backpack. Tokarev has entrusted field testing his newest invention, a combination backpack/portable workshop that not only allows to easily carry a considerable load and clean and service weapons, but also lets its user to make filters, medkits, and other pieces of equipment useful in the field to me. Surely I am honored with this trust, but something tells me Tokarev has an ulterior motive here. This could be his plot for stocking up on useful materials without even leaving the confines of his workshop. If that wasn't the case, why would he spend time telling me where to find usable metal parts and chemicals? He even proposed I check out the mutant lairs, though I must say the idea seems to be quite good. Binoculars. The binoculars Crest gave to me turned out to be an invaluable gift. Back in Moscow, even on the surface, there was no real need for a pair, but here they do help me out a lot. Of course, you could take a good look at something from a considerable distance using an optical sight, but a wider field of view, great magnification, and above all binocular picture allow to get a good grasp on relative positions of points of interest and distances between them, making the binoculars a must when marking such point on a map. The bracer. The bracers all Spartans wear are not an important piece of armor, but still routinely save our lives. They are used to mount such vital pieces of equipment as Geiger counters, warning us of dangerous radiation hotspots, and watches, necessary for keeping track of gas mask filter usage. The watch is combined with another gadget that, despite its tiny size, is also vitally important. The light indicator, many a time its blue light hinted me to find a better shaded hiding spot to remain stealthy. That was weird. I feel like that's a typo there at the end too after the stealthy. I don't know what that _BR right arrow is. The lighter. This piece of trench art I got from Sukhoi has been with me through a lot, but its value is far from just sentimental. I always rely on it whenever I need to start a campfire, find my way out of a dark tunnel by following the faintest draft, go through a spider bug lair and want to get rid of their cobwebs, or simply need a backup light source, and it never fails. The Spartan suit. The Spartan suit is not just uniform. All members of our order wear. The suits provide a considerable degree of environmental protection, which, when combined with a gas mask, allows Spartans to be reasonably safe during prolonged sorties to the surface. I wonder why he calls them sorties. The suits also accommodate a modicum of armor and padding, ensuring, when combined with a armored vest, flexible and reliable protection that can be when combined, flexible and reliable protection that can be easily configured for heaviest of engagements or reconnaissance missions, when swiftness of movement becomes the main priority. These are really hard to read. The translator did not do the best job here. The night vision goggles, I don't think I ever used these. I barely used them. Maybe we used them inside that one place. Even before the war, the night vision goggles were a valued commodity in the military forces, even moderately concerned with whether carrying out stealthy operations or effectively foiling those. With the relative fragility of such devices and perpetual darkness of the tunnels, their value and importance in the metro grew exponentially. Obtaining a working specimen is a rare luck, and even the Order could never manage to procure enough to make night vision goggles a piece of standard issue equipment for all of its fighters, providing them only for specific operations. Still, all the helmets issued by the Order have the necessary mounting points and our standard power packs, usually reserved to feeding our flashlights, have additional sockets which all the Spartans can use to plug such goggles into should they obtain one. Alright, moving on to the weapons now. The first one, the Kalash. Despite the venerable age of this weapon, which before the Judgment Day had played a considerable part of hundreds of conflicts all over the world, its unparalleled reliability and considerable firepower make it a prized possession in the tunnels of the Metro, and, of course, on the surface. A standard Kalash is simply a solid assault rifle with all its characteristic pros and cons, but thanks to the talent of Sparta's gunsmiths, and Tokarev personally, the Model R order fields can accommodate a huge variety of upgrades, from extended magazine to various sights. Not only that, with a few simple operations and spare parts, it can be turned into a weapon of a different class, from a short machine pistol that excels at close range to a light machine gun. That does not mean that the underlying concept, simplicity, and reliability have been sacrificed either. Even though my Kalash is many years my senior... Oh shit, didn't mean to do that. Even though the Kalash is many years my senior, it seemed to save my bacon on many an occasion, and would shoot like nothing. Happened even after taking a dip in the marsh. Weapons are something we people are definitely good at making. They will probably be ready to kill years after there remains nobody on the face of the planet capable of pulling the trigger. The Shambler. I like the Shambler a lot. Definitely one of my favorites in this game. What would be the Achilles heel? Oh my god. What would be the Achilles heel of a shotgun? The long reload cycle, perhaps. And to remedy that, it looks like the designer of this monstrosity was ready to sacrifice anything reliability, simplicity, even the common sense. Still, in terms of sheer firepower, this cross between a meat grinder and a lawnmower is second to none, and Tokarev says that, despite its freakish looks, it won't explode in my arms in the nearest future, of course, if I exercise necessary caution and clean it regularly. I guess I'll pretend I believe him. The T-Har. Frankly speaking, I didn't recognize that T-Har was a weapon when I saw it for the first time, and it took me some time to believe that it really could function. Even so, this remarkably ugly masterpiece of the armory station's designers they've been driven into making by the eternal shortage of ammo has proven to be indispensable for the Order's operatives. Not only does T-Har shoot the ubiquitous bearing balls, it is also practically noiseless, packs a wallop, and is quite accurate over short distances. Naturally, all in all, it is an ideal special operations weapon for the conditions of Metro. Of course, you have to mind not just the ammo in the ammo in the magazine, but also the air reservoir pressure. Though Tokarev has at least improved the valves so that the air does not escape unless you actually shoot the weapon. Besides its pneumatics, Tokarev also improved on T-Har's ammo, inventing a very effective incendiary round that can be easily made in the field out of two bearing balls, an empty ampule or a piece of glass tube, a teaspoonful of any fuel, and a chemical initiator. Of course, you can't fit many of these round into the weapons magazine, but they are so effective you rarely need more than one at a time. The revolver. In the Metro, where ammo is worth its weight in gold, a weapon's reload speed is usually a distant second or even third priority. While its reliability and simplicity become critical, humidity, dust, poor quality, handmade ammunition, pulling a revolver trigger the second time when it misfires is much faster than fixing a feed failure in an automatic pistol. And in the confines of the tunnels, enemy might deny you the time needed for that altogether. That's why the armory station started producing copies of ancient Naganta revolvers. Soon they learned that even 7 bullets sometimes are not enough to stop a charming charming, a charging no solace, so they had to switch to a more powerful and exotic for Russia. 14 Magnum caliber. What is that? Oh, the 44 Magnum caliber. A hit with one of these is usually enough to kill a mutant on the spot, and that is exactly why such revolvers were a welcome addition to the Spartan Order's arsenal. Besides, due to the fact that they retain the Nagant revolver's gas sealing mechanism, they can be fitted with suppressors and modifications introduced by our gunsmiths let them accommodate any other add-ons, from carbine-type stocks to night vision sights. The A-Shot. What firearm could be simpler than a shotgun? Perhaps some extremely primitive zip gun, but those aren't known for their efficiency. A buckshot salvo, though, will make even the toughest and meanest mutants at least think about their next actions carefully. Besides, shotgun ammo is easier to hand load than any other kind, so the popularity of this class of weapon is nothing surprising. Their variety, though, never ceased to amaze me, even after I learned that functional shotguns could be made from lengths of water pipes, like most of A-Shot variants are. Still, anything from 1 to 4 barrels, not counting different chokes, stocks, recoil compensators, and sights. Even within the order, the only standard as far as the shotguns are concerned is their caliber. I can't wrap my mind around how Tokarev manages to know them all inside and out. The bastard. What if you require something with a better cyclic rate of fire than a revolver, but consider an assault rifle to be an overkill? The submachine gun... The submachine guns are there for you. That is, of course, if besides the requirements in fantasy, you have quality machines and materials. If all you have is fantasy and skillful hands, you end up with an embodiment of the beggars can't be choosers principle. You happen to have a length of thin pipe, a dented bucket, a rusty anvil, and pliers. Perfect. In a couple of days, you may well be spraying the mutants with lead like so much water from a garden hose, with about the same range and accuracy, and not for long, as your creation, spitting unscrewed nuts left and right, will overheat from its insane rate of fire and jam within seconds. Like the bastard gun, even popular amongst the denizens of the metro, despite all of the afflictions plaguing this gunsmith's nightmare, Tokarev managed to turn it into a decent weapon, with enough power and accuracy to take its rightful place in our arsenal. Its only remaining drawback that even Tokarev's magic was unable to fix is its propensity to jam when it overheats. Still, the number of bullets the bastard, as we naturally came to be calling it, manages to spit out before it stutters usually ends up being enough for any opponent. Yeah, still got a few more. Alright, the decoy. An improvised noise decoy attracts attention of humans and beasts alike with the loud rattling noise it produces. Throwing knives. The perfect stealthy short-range weapon. The throwing knives are cold wrought by many a blacksmith throughout the metro from spring steel. Explosive. This makeshift grenade is essentially a length of steel pipe filled with explosives, but it can still be quite deadly if it goes off close enough. Molotov cocktail. This primitive incendiary device, little more than a bottle filled with gasoline, is still a dangerous weapon if employed skillfully. Okay, we're getting to the end. Cool. The Gatling. Despite their weight and number of components in their construction, the multi-barreled machine guns, like this creation of somebody's bothered genius, have one advantage over the regular ones. They, if you have the necessary talent and industriousness, can be made out of a couple bicycle frames and a scooter engine with nothing but a thin file. A working machine gun of a more conventional scheme, on the other hand, can't really be made without decent machinery and steel. Besides, it is quite easy to burn out a conventional machine gun's barrel. Just fire a few really long series in quick succession and the bullets start hitting everything, save for the target. Spelled the wrong. You can't easily repeat that trick with a multi-barreled pepper box, though, as where would you find the sheer number of bullets required for that? No wonder the gunsmiths of the brave new world started making these monsters. You can't really ask for anything better to fight hordes of mutants at once. The Bulldog. This is my other gun I really liked. The Bulldog didn't really have a chance to make a name for itself in the numerous wars mankind was so fond of waging before the apocalypse. The weapon's creators intended it to replace its ancestor, the venerable Kalash. Yet mankind was able to neatly wrap its history up without the newcomer's involvement, so the Bulldog started reaping its share of lives only after the end of the world. I have to give the Bulldog's designers credit. It is vastly superior to Kalash in damage output, handling accuracy, has a lower rate of fire making bursts more controllable, and is much lighter to boot. Yet despite all that, you don't really see these weapons often. The Bulldog is much more complex than Kalash and requires skillful maintenance. It is hardly surprising that most of the survivors prefer its elder brother, the indestructible Kalash. I guess this runs out of steam real quick. You gotta spend a lot of chemicals cleaning it to repair it. The Helsing. What kind of weapon would you expect children who grew up abandoned in a forest to produce? I personally didn't count on anything more complex than spears and bows or some slingshots, but rapid-fire crossbows with a fully interchangeable parts? Tokarev was quite surprised by the power and construction of the action, and he's not easy to impress at all. He says that such a crossbow is actually harder to make than a bastard gun. So, the pioneers have a machine shop that skills necessary to use it. Why didn't they go about making some firearms? To what end, though? In their forest, the crossbow's range is more than enough. It is silent, you don't need any chemicals to make bolts for it, and those bolts can be used repeatedly, and for cases when stealth is not a concern, the forest dwellers are mass-producing explosive bolts. So even in terms of lethality, this crossbow is not that really behind firearms and will fit into our arsenal nicely, especially after Tokarev works his magic on it. And then the final weapon, the railgun. We're actually going to get this, or actually we did already get this. As of the release of this journal reading, we have acquired the railgun. Colonel Miller's trusted railgun has been with him for a long time, and through Tokarev's constant care and plentiful modifications, turned into an exceptionally accurate, powerful, and reliable weapon, in stark contrast to some other specimens of the same basic scheme. So there you go. That's all the diary readings, or the journal readings, except for the diary, because like I said, we did that in the walkthrough. We listened to all that. So anyways, that's it for the journal entries. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. My name is Brian, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.